This is crazy. I'm sitting with my dad. This is my first podcast that we've shot. And everything that I know about voice acting and proper reading and inflection, I know from this guy. So it's really fitting. We didn't know how this was going to turn out, but Dad ended up being the first one sitting in the chair here. So you're doing hiking now. This is something that you've gone from a broad gamut of professions before, mostly in audio engineering, some production. You left Virginia Beach to go do real estate just in time for 2008 and all that good time, right. That good fun.
The crash.
So, hiking. I've never seen you more invigorated. I've never seen you more excited about what you're doing. How did you even get started on that? Where did the hiking thing come from?
Well, I guess the initial roots were back when my dad and I, Dad was trying to find ways to spend more time with me, because with my brother, he didn't raise him maybe in the best manner that he thought, and didn't get enough time with him. So he became a scoutmaster and basically did it as a ploy to get me to join the scouts so we could go camping together. And so that started my initial breakthrough of getting into the outdoors. I was a concrete suburbanite kid that didn't really want to be out in the wilderness among the bugs and the snakes. So he kind of broke me out of that gradually, went camping with the scouts, did some pretty long 14-mile hikes as a 13 or 12-year-old, and carrying 40-pound packs. These old World War II surplus packs that we still have that came probably either from World War II or the Korean War, and the old wooden frame packs. These are very, very antiquated compared to today's technology. And anyway, that got the roots going, and then I later went off to college and got the music business and kind of forgot about all that. Got married, and then of course you came along, and we moved up to Virginia Beach, Virginia, got into TV. I was a sound engineer in Nashville doing music business work with Christian artists and country artists, and transformed into what I thought would pay better, had a better career track, which was television. They had bigger budgets. So I went to work for the Christian Broadcasting Network up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And from there, I'd gotten away from the outdoors, other than occasionally camping in a pop-up camper, which I couldn't stand because I felt very entrapped with having to pull that thing everywhere.
This was with a 1984 Dodge Caravan, by the way, back then, right?
1980.
Plymouth Voyager.
1987.
87 Plymouth Voyager with the wood panels on the side.
Yeah, had the six-cylinder engine.
Yeah, the six-cylinder with it was the LE, so it was the longer version. It wasn't that short, stubby, disproportionate thing that I never enjoyed.
Rough copy of the Space Shuttle shape.
Right. Yeah, because this is when Dodge had invented the minivan. This was a Lee Iacocca
Right. It was based on the shape of the shuttle, actually. Seriously.
So kind of just taking the rabbit trail here. The Space Shuttle, where'd you hear that? Where did that come from?
I think it was in Lee Iacocca's book, but that was in the era of the Space Shuttle when it started first launching, and I think they had an ad campaign that kind of showed the shuttle and the Caravan.
I gotta look this up. Yeah.
Yeah, the Voyager, I think the Voyager name even came from sort of a NASA-inspired thing. But anyway, yeah, from there I got into music, into television, and then cycled out of the Virginia Beach area. Became kind of bored with sound engineering and worked for a post-production outfit, working on some safety training videos, and decided to come back to Tennessee and reinvent myself, and jumped into real estate. And in real estate, I discovered I didn't really care so much about selling houses, but I liked walking the acreage properties. Other agents didn't want to go. They didn't want to tear up their clothes and get some fleas, so I would go and I would walk the woods. And I found myself enjoying the solitude of walking the woods, and then people would call me, say, we're coming to town, we just kind of want somebody to show us around, show us some houses. And then I found out that they were going to waste my time and they wanted me to be a tour guide. So I decided, well, I like doing photography. I'm doing that in real estate. I like doing the touring thing if I get paid for it. And I'm really not enjoying real estate so much, except for the land sales. So And then the market crashed, the economy crashed in 2008. We lost everything, and I got to be very depressed and was close to suicide, and had planned for a way to do myself in, and so that my family could get insurance money to help them. And so I rehearsed different ways, or not rehearsed, but I thought about different scenarios and came up with the idea of driving out in front of a train, make it look like an accident so that the claim would be paid. And then I was persuaded by prayer from friends, other people who didn't know I was really contemplating that, and I don't even think my own wife knew it, your mom. And I actually had a spot picked out, was ready to roll through it, and felt like things were starting to turn finally. I was starting to succeed, working out, losing my weight. I'd gotten really heavy. I was 65 pounds heavier than I am now.
So about my weight.
Yeah. So I was very depressed. I felt like I'd lost everything. Before I was winning everything I would buy, I would flip it. It was turning to gold. Later, everything I bought turned to mold. So everything came crashing down about 2008. We got kicked out of our house, foreclosed on, lost both of our vehicles. I was over leveraged. I knew it at the time. I thought I was going to make a final land deal, and that land deal got held up because the person that was trying to buy it was from Canada. And if you're Canadian, you're treated as somebody who's a non-citizen, so you can't really buy it. And it shut down the sale at the last minute as the economy
I didn't know that part.
So I couldn't sell the last piece of land that I had a bunch of money in, and then everything dominoed. So anyway, after that, I started working out, mountain biking, going to workouts, doing spin class, and started dropping my weight. So I started succeeding at some little goals that encouraged me, and everything else was just crashing down. And even though economically we were still selling our personal items on eBay just to pay the rent or pay the utility bills, and family was helping out, even our kids helped out at times, such as yourself. So it was a pretty dark period, and gradually I came out of that deep depression because I could see a little bit of the light again, and I'd questioned God, I'd questioned everything. Knew there was God, even as much as I hated to admit it. I knew God was still in control, and moved forward with trying to just achieve small, minute goals. I went out to Cades Cove, got on a bicycle, decided to set a baseline before I turned my body around physically, because I was here for the first time in my life. I was really fat, 65 pounds over. So I forget, I was at 245, I think, and I'm only 5'9". And so I got on a bicycle on a very hot day. I knew my time would be horrible. Going around the 11-mile loop at Cades Cove in the Smoky Mountains, and of course there was traffic there that I could use for an excuse to slow me down. So, so I got on the bike and went around that cove, 11-mile cove. It was hard. At one point I thought I was going to die of heat exhaustion. I laid down in the stream on my back, just soaked the cold air in, and I said, I got to finish this thing. This is something I got to set as a baseline so that when I improve and keep moving further, I'll be able to look back and see how far I've come. And like in the Old Testament, they set up these stone monuments. Children of Israel would set up a monument saying that this is how far we've come. This is how far God delivers. It's called an Ebenezer. So this was going to be an Ebenezer in my life. I knew it. I was setting the groundwork for success, later success that I only had faith for. Couldn't see it at the time.
And not just the physical. I mean, sorry to jump in, but I think it's really important to say that from a fitness perspective, it makes a lot of sense to set a baseline. This is something that anytime I'm coming back to mountain biking, I enjoy racing and doing things like that. And I'm super heavy right now, but once I get in the groove, it starts cutting down. But one of the first things that I do is, number one, I know the first ride's going to suck. So I just go out and have the sucky ride. It actually becomes a goal.
It becomes a motivator.
But the first time you do it, it's
awesome. It's awful.
It's awful. It can destroy you. Like, let's say you push too hard doing the baseline and you end up injuring yourself, and then you can't come back to it, things like that. But what I was going to say is, this wasn't just a baseline for fitness. This was a baseline for a turning point in your life. You were going to approach life with a different perspective. And I think it's really neat, too, when I think about, because I knew you were struggling with depression, and there are things that come up every now and then where you say, it would just be better if, but but knowing what I know now about the psychology of depression, and when you have a plan, just how close you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it rationalizes. You rationalize. For me, it was going to be a sacrificial thing where I started seeing my family struggle, and I wanted them to have money, and I felt like I was worth more dead than alive, and I had
It's terrible.
I think $100,000 policy then. I don't have any now, so I'm worth more alive than I am dead. But
But you could have killed yourself on the trail, and this is something I was thinking of just imagistically. But you would set out to set a baseline, and you thought you were going to die of heat exhaustion at one point.
Yeah,
I mean, you're starting to get concerned, but at no point did it become, let me back out. And so now you've gotten to a point where it's, rather than driving in front of a train to help the family, you're setting yourself up, and you're willing to die for it, or at least pass out from heat exhaustion, right? As you're going
at that point, I didn't feel like,
and that's cool.
I wasn't on a deadly course. That was it. It was a necessity to set that baseline, and I knew I needed to take it easy because I was out of shape. I worked as hard as I could in that heat, and I'm very heat susceptible. Have been ever since that time. We were at the Boy Scout camp in Williamsburg, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was getting in heat prostration, and I had to run in the middle of the night down to the public shower at that camp in Williamsburg and jump in fully clothed.
Yeah, check out Hominy Campground, the Boy Scout campground just outside of Williamsburg.
Yeah, from that day on, and some people had said that once you have a episode with heat exhaustion, then it's never going to be the same handling heat, and I think that might be true. But so from that point on, I knew I was susceptible to heat, even when I wasn't as heavy as I was, and I was very heavy. But no, I wasn't feeling like I was so much tempting fate to do the circle, to do the loop, set the baseline. I knew I had to do it, but I didn't want to do it and destroy myself. But I did push myself hard enough where I thought maybe I was having some mini strokes because my speech got slurred a little bit, and my thinking skills. But I think it was dehydration. And
or blood sugar drop along with dehydration usually manifests that way,
and
right?
I have a hard time staying hydrated. I can drink and drink and drink. I have to take electrolytes, and I usually can win the battle if I overdrink towards the end of the task. If it's a 10, 12-hour hike, I have to drink more towards the end to stay ahead of it. And I keep checking the color of my urine and see where I'm at when I'm hiking, and I know I monitor.
There's nothing like a clear stream of pee. It's this weird thing for guys.
When I see darkness, I go, oh no.
Right, yeah, it comes out tea colored, and you're like, I might just die right now. I don't know. It's coming out brown.
It's hard to turn around once you go dehydrated while you're still doing physical.
Right.
It's almost impossible to turn around for me. So what I did this last time, I did 35 miles in 2 days.
Holy cow.
The 15-mile
on
hike.
Foot?
Yeah.
Not mountain biking. This
is hiking with a 25-pound pack. So on the last leg of the last day, I was going into dehydration, and the lady with me, I said, look, I got to stop. I got to pull out my Propel powder. I pulled out a pack of powder, and I just popped it in like I was eating Pez candy.
And what was it, Pixie Sticks? It was
it was so sour.
You had a Propel Pixie Stick going on.
It made my eyeballs twist around.
That's great.
But I threw it in my mouth, would take a mouthful, and then I would drink some and throw it in. Because I can't put it into my hydration bag because it'll go through the filter.
Right.
The Sawyer filter, it'll mess it up.
Yeah.
So I can't mix it into my bag. So that was my quickie. And it worked. I turned it around, so I was...
Not recommended, but definitely it worked for you in that moment.
Well, the last 6.5 miles, the lady had been hiking with me. She'd already hiked 2 days of hiking before that. She was finishing up 75 miles.
Holy cow.
But she was 38 years old. And she's only like 5'1", so she's able to handle it, and she's in shape.
Yeah.
And she'd already done the Appalachian Trail from Springer Mountain, Georgia, 200 and so miles up to Kleeman's Dome, where I dropped her off 2 days before, and then I joined her 2 days later. So anyway, all that to say that I was able to turn the dehydration around, and I knew, especially when I did this ring road thing, dehydration was always going to be a battle for me, and the heat exhaustion. So I lay down the stream, got myself cooled down, hopped back on. I was about 3/4 the way around the loop. It took me all in all over 4 hours to do the 11 miles. So I knew that was a horrible time. I was happy just to be done with
You
it.
made it, yeah.
And I said, fine, that means I got a lot of work to do. And what inspired me actually to start turning things around, a lot of it was when I saw myself in a photograph at your brother's wedding. And I saw that picture of me and I went, that man looks like he's dying.
That's going to be me when I see this video here.
I said,
about me. I mean, like, whoa. I got man boobs.
I said, I don't know, I was 54, I think. I said, he looks like he's dying. I said, I'm not ready to die. I'm not ready to let it go. And that was part of the turnaround about the suicide. It inspired me. I said, I'm not going to let the devil take away the rest of my life. Over money, over this paper thing we call money. And somehow we'll get through this. And it was horrible, but I knew we could get through it. So the baseline was set. So 3 or 4 years later, I went back out after dropping 60 or 65 pounds, and I did it in less than an hour.
Nice.
So
very nice.
That gave me... That finished the script, or completed gave me closure, whatever you want to call it. That made me feel complete that I succeeded in the mission, and I had a job now. It wasn't a job I liked. I hated it, but it was bringing income in, and I suffered through management of a guy that was really, really hard to work for, former Marine. He was very...
those prior service guys are hard to work with.
Well, and not because he was a Marine, I would give him that, but it was because he didn't understand me. He was trying to use manipulations with me that doesn't work, and trying to motivate an old guy with old tricks that I've seen over and over again. And that's not what motivates me. I'm not trying to compete against anybody except myself.
That's something I've run into in my time as well, I've noticed. It's
an insult.
It's an insult, right? When you use the textbook play-by-play, and I feel the script coming out of your mouth.
Right.
Number one, it's not genuine, so you're lying to me as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
It's like, no, be genuine, and let's address this as adults, and have a little bit of self-respect to think that maybe you know what you're talking about when you address me.
Right.
And B, maybe it is an ego thing. Maybe if I could get past the idea that, hey, I've accomplished this, and I should be talked to better or spoken to better.
Yeah, part of it.
Maybe I could get past that. Maybe, that's an area I think I could grow in. But at the same time, there's something disingenuous about the whole exchange that's a problem for me.
They've apparently not taken the time to get to know me. And here I've been working 2 or 3 years with this person, and they still don't know what makes me tick. And they're going to try some little stupid, clever trick that sales techniques had come up with. And I feel like, do you really think I'm that stupid? That this is really what's going to make me be motivated? No, what motivates me is not that. You need to find out what motivates me before you try to write a prescription. And that's the part that I found most insulting, was that here I'm spending all this time there, and they still didn't know who I was. So, he was good on a lot of things. He was good about time off, good about family time, but he was not reading me. He had no perception. He should never have been a manager. He had no perception about people.
Yeah.
And when he would try to sell, and I would watch him sell people, I'd watch them recoil, and he didn't pick up on it. So I felt like in some ways I was better than him at what he was trying to tell me. But I wasn't prideful enough because my numbers didn't show that I was the top dog in the company. But I was in the top 5 or top 10 every month.
Yeah. So, I was in sales for a while too, and I didn't ever have that success in the numbers that seemed appropriate for my honest approach to sales. Right. And knowing that one tactic is wrong and not participating in it isn't the same as knowing what's actually going to work in the genuine fashion. And it's hard. It's really hard to look and know what that guy's doing over there. It's wrong. And even when it works, it's a short-term gain.
Right.
There's not going to be repeat business because the client's going to come away feeling like they were robbed.
Right.
And it just makes you feel icky in the whole thing.
Buy-in. Yeah. Emotional buy-in, and they go back and think about it later.
And then you get the buyer's remorse. And
there are some people that actually will never get it and won't have a resentment, but there are a lot that will, and those are the ones I worry about. And I have to go home at night and feel like I did an honest day's job. And if I feel cheapened in what I'm doing, I can't sell it. They're going to see it in my eyes that I feel cheap doing the pitch, and that's what would happen is I would short out, and I'd be forced to try to sell in a way that was not comfortable to me. Mm-hmm. And Of course, when you get into the group training thing, they brought in a trainer, and he was a disaster. He was the absolute worst thing.
Oh my goodness!
And I had the privilege of hiking with a friend of his not long ago who happened to be on my hike.
No way.
And I gave him an earful. And it was inappropriate, but he was there.
Absolutely, yeah.
He was there, and I said, "Oh, you're friends with?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." He came to our office. He was a disaster. He wanted us to write business on everyone who walked in the door, whether they were qualified or not, whether they were ready to make a decision or not. He wanted us to take them out of the marketplace and write it on a piece of paper and take a $500 check, deposit, and all we did was hand back checks and made people uncomfortable the whole time. It was a disaster.
Wow.
The guy says, "Well, yeah, but he was pretty good at helping people get their numbers up." I said, "I'm telling you, from our perspective, my perspective, he was awful." And he goes, "Well, I wasn't really that close to him as a friend." He says, "Yeah,
man, when your friend disowns you like that."
I saw him go through a divorce. And that kind of gave me. And he starts ungluing about what he thought about this guy. And I held firm. I said, it was a nightmare, and the reason the owner keeps using him is beyond me. He's got him hoodooed, where he's written up a theory. He did a thesis on selling by personality: sheeps, tigers, lambs. I forget what the other categories were. Owls, and yeah, there are personality types, but if you start thinking in terms of people by broad brush personality types, that will mislead you on really listening to who they are, and you'll still miss the sale. And you've got to be very careful. I do believe in adaptive selling. I think it works, but to micromanage it is wrong. I think you have to keep the human element and be flexible enough to bend and realize people are complex. They're not monolithic. They may be an owl in one type of situation, and they're a tiger in another, and then they're a sheep in another. So I have all those at different times in my day. So why would they be any different? So,
well, a well-integrated personality would be able to adopt those personas given the appropriate scenario, right? What do you think the difference is between selling and conning? Because I feel like a lot of these sales pitch schemes are really just some kind of whitewashed con.
Behavior manipulation, I think it comes down to your gut. When you feel like it doesn't feel right, I think that's the best thing. It's like when you're walking in a parking lot. There's somebody walking across the parking lot that might be wearing a hoodie or dressed a certain way or is holding something in their hand, and your gut starts talking to you, and I think that's the way you ought to go with it. There are probably some better specifics that if I thought about it I could come up with.
Yeah. I just didn't know.
But generally, I think if you're some people need to be pushed for their own good. Sometimes there is an appropriate time to push people to go ahead and make a decision, to go ahead and buy that thing, because they've come in there not because they're just trying to waste time. They're there to try to figure something out. And if you help deliver them to where they really want to go for their own good, that's a good thing, but you've got to be careful of not confusing that. You've got to have these numbers by the end of the month, and this is the last day of the month, and you've got this sale sitting in front of you, $500 or $800 or $10,000, or for me a $250,000 house, and you're going to push them over the edge, even though you know they really need to think about this for a little while longer. Well, some people say, well, you're going to let them out the door and think about it, then you're not doing your job as a salesperson. You need to nail them down right then and capture them. And I say no. Because if you get them to buy too soon, they're going to have buyer's remorse, and especially on a big ticket item, they don't want to buy spontaneously. They don't want to buy spontaneously. They want to buy because they are now able to sleep at night and go home with that decision.
Yes.
It's a different sale than selling a box of candy or something at a counter where there's impulse buying that is appropriate in some ways. So. But anyway,
it seems like what you're describing is a cooperative pursuit of the most beneficial outcome.
Well, they use the term sales counselor when I worked at Circuit City, and I always thought that was kind of smarmy and kind of psychobabble. But in reality, if you had a sister or a brother or a relative who came to you and said, I'm interested in getting one of those products, whatever you're selling, how would you handle them? How would you handle your mom?
Yeah, because you gotta have, like, it's Thanksgiving. Yeah. If I sell you something in the spring in a way that makes you really resent me later, I still have to have Thanksgiving with you later.
That's right.
Do we really want to have that tension and that?
And I'm not like other salespeople. There are other salespeople who are much better at sales because I can't disconnect my belief in the product and my confidence in the sale. So if I know that our guys are, for instance, building houses, are not getting the jobs done on time, they're making big mistakes. They're using inferior labor.
Yeah.
They're doing some manipulation with the construction. It's going to start showing, and my numbers will start to go down because I cannot disconnect that from myself. So in that sense, I'm not a good salesman.
Yeah.
And if that's what I got to have to be a good salesman, I don't want it.
Maybe. I mean, and there's also the element of having faith in what your team is doing and knowing that they have bad times and good times and that you're still aiming for the good times.
Well, that's one thing. But when you know going into the sale that you're going to be promising these people stuff that's just not going to turn out.
Right. Well, and the moment that the first promise doesn't come through, you've just lost all credibility in everything about the sale.
Like I've got to go to those guys, and I'd go to them, and I'd raise a ruckus, and they'd go, well, you know what, our drafter made a mistake, and so we got to go back and charge this widow. This is a real case. A widow whose husband died from the time that they came in and met me. She came back and said, my husband died, but he still wants me to have this. He wanted me to have this house. And she gets into the process, and we find out that the draftsman had mistakenly drawn the drawings where the beams are running the wrong way for the basement, and they can't run the vent pipe or the gas pipe or whatever to her gas stove or whatever it was at that time, and they're going to have to redraw it and go back and have some girder trusses made so that they can run these things through and not cut into beams.
How does the drafter not get sued in this situation?
They made her pay the difference.
Was the drafter in-house?
Yeah.
He wasn't
I had to go to her and ask her for another $2,800 or whatever. And I said, this is wrong. This is wrong. We made the mistake. We should eat it. Well, we can't. We don't have enough margin on this house. We're going to have to just have her pay for that. I said, that's not right. And they made me do it, and I went ahead and did it. Now, I still know the lady to this day.
If you don't mind me asking, how did you sell that? Because there's the way you can sell it and say, you just straight up lie.
I told her.
Or you can say, hey, look, we made a mistake, and it's going to cost you extra money, and we're really sorry. I mean, how do you go about that?
I softened it. I told her, I said that there's been a design situation here where your gas design, they did not fully account for the cost, and we need to have some more money. And she didn't balk.
I mean, that's fair.
She
you approached her honestly.
Yes. Well, I didn't tell the whole truth. I didn't state it as harshly as I wanted to state it because the company would have shot me for that.
Yeah. Do you regret that?
In some ways, I'm still friends with her now, and I've taken her kayaking stuff, so I feel like maybe I've made up for it.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's good.
I've remained her friend, and I always cared about her as a person. And when she came in and told me about her husband passing away, I stood up, and she came up and hugged me, and she just started bawling. I said, I will make sure that you are taken care of and that your husband's wishes are executed correctly. And that's what I felt was my solemn promise to her. And then when drafting people and they'd already started the house, and they said, we got to go get beams made, and it's going to cost more. These laminate beams or trusses, whatever it was, were going to cost more because of her having gas as far as the stove or whatever, or gas fireplace. I can't remember what it was. If she hadn't asked for that, we wouldn't be at this point. But since she wanted that, but she said that from the outset. That was already there in the design. Yeah. They should have known.
Yeah.
It was clearly their fault, and yet they made her pay for the upcharge. And I still don't feel totally comfortable about it, but at this point, I don't know. Maybe she wouldn't have cared anyway. But I did tell her there was a mess up. But I could have stated it strongly and said, you know what, you shouldn't be paying for this. That was my opinion, but I had to hold it back.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is you want to present the customer with the case, with the situation.
Yeah.
And really, it's their role to judge in the end, right? Well, I mean, you can have your feelings about it, but...
Yeah, and this incident, among many other incidences where I did not feel good about myself walking out the door at night to go home. So I was determined after the manager misjudging my character and trying to use manipulative tactics to improve the numbers to make him look better, which is really what it was all about. And he said, I wanted to see you make more money, but I don't think it was really about that. It was about making him look better. At that point, I didn't care, but so I would go over to across the interstate for my lunch hour, and I determined I was going to use every lunch hour to lay tracks to make a new path out of there. Here we go back to the train.
Yeah. Well, that's how I ended up getting my CompTIA A+ certification. As I was every lunch break, I made sure I took a full lunch break when I was working at Firestone. I don't know.
Well, didn't know that.
I think we just both independently pursued the same
so
goal, and you make it work.
And the great thing was the Bass Pro Shop has a great building that makes me feel like I'm out in the outdoors.
Nice.
So I would be sitting in front of the waterfall there, the fake waterfall, and the aquarium. You got these fish, huge aquarium, and looking at this building that is the absolute epitome of marketing. They have not missed a beat.
No, they've got that dialed in.
Everything from the steel beams being disguised as trees, and they've used real trees to put around the beams, to the concrete footprints of animals outside as you walk in the sidewalk, to the sign itself, which took me a long time to figure out what the sign was all about. The yellow sign, the fish. I go, oh,
what is that about?
It's a moon. It's a moon, and the bass is jumping in front of the moon.
Oh, well, so is it jumping in front of the moon, or is it jumping?
And there's a stick
is it jumping? Is it jumping, and you're seeing the reflection of the moon in the water?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the moon in the background. But
we might have to post this on. I might put this on Twitter.
It took me forever to figure it out. I go, because I knew these people were sharp. They were really sharp. So I admired what they did, and so I'm in this environment of great marketing, and I'm sitting in front of the great outdoors, synthetically, albeit with the waterfall and the stuffed animals, taxidermy all around me, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'm thinking, what would I want to do in my life?
Yeah.
With the skill sets I have that's realistic, or a skill set that I could grow into further and further refine, and what do I have the capacity, money-wise or transportation-wise, to actually get into? And so I came up with the idea of a hiking tour guide, and I thought, well, I'm making decent money right now, but I'm miserable. I hate it. I hate it with a passion, and it's killing me. It's poisoning me, and now I can't even put on the brave face going into work anymore because I don't believe in what I'm doing, and I'm not paying attention like I should. I'm falling down on the job. I'm not as competent. I'm becoming incompetent, and they're going to fire me eventually because I hate it. I don't want to be here. So I spent every lunch hour planning and trying to sort out, and I thought of the Groupon campaign. I thought of TripAdvisor. I thought of how I could offer myself with photography to make it make it a enhanced value.
Yeah.
So they
added benefit.
They get a free photograph. I was offering 11 by 14s, and that was too expensive. I had to cut it down to 8 by 10s. Now I'm down to 5 by 7s. I may have hurt myself on that.
And you and I have talked about too, just going with the potential of a digital included, because there's no print cost to that.
Right,
and
then,
then,
I do give.
And then giving the option of a hard copy if you want it. That at least
they get a hard copy right now, 5 by 7, which doesn't cost me much. I send it by U.S. mail, so it's maybe $4 or $5, and then they get a digital file if they ask for it. I give it to them, but most people don't care about it.
Yeah.
So, and then they get an option to go on the website and download the rest of the prints, and all those at high resolution for $39. So.
Nice.
So all in all, they paid maybe $75, $89, or $87 for the hike if it's a general hike and not a private hike, and then they're paying another $40 for extra prints. So I come away with maybe $110, $120 out of average sale, more like $100 with tip. The average tip is about $20 per event, which is pretty good. And then I offer enhanced things where they can do a private hike for $149. I call it private romantic hike. It can either be romantic or it can be private just with a family, or 2 people or 1 person. I won't hike for any less than the price of 2 people. A single person comes along.
Makes sense.
I have a minimum. It's going to have to be the price of 2 people, or I'm not going to show up, or I won't book them.
Well, I mean, it's not a matter of. It's not really the price of 2 people. What it is it's the price that's the minimum necessary for a guide. And what you're doing is you're actually giving a bonus in that, look, I would charge this for 1 person. You get an extra person for free.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Plus 12 kids 12 and under are free, always. So.
Oh, that's great. So what you're doing is you're getting a chance to not only provide a service for the adults, but I think it's really important in the high-tech age that we're in now kids need to be connecting with nature as much as possible. And
I believe in that, and I try to give families a break.
Sounds like it.
Because I had a family, and we didn't have enough money to go to Disney World. And I know what it's like to have a family. You already got tons of expenses, and vacation. Some people spend thousands, and some people can't. So for me, if they want to spend thousands on me, they can hire me for several private hikes, and then I offer private kayaking to an island.
That's a fairly recent thing, right?
Set up a bonfire. Well, it's been going on about 3 years now.
3 years,
4 years. Do a bonfire, set them up with s'mores and hot dogs, and then I leave the island, give them a little bit of time alone, and they text me when they're ready for me to come back, and we pack up and paddle back under the stars with our headlamps on. And that's been a huge emotional event for myself. I always enjoy it, and the people that do it just absolutely love it. And nobody's offering anything like what I'm doing. I have no competition in that area, but I haven't managed
till whoever sees this decides to
so
do it.
But I haven't managed to expand it much either, so I'm kind of stymied. I got to do better with it. And then there's the group thing, where I've actually taken families group kayaking and group camping on an island in the lake, and group camping into the park, along with a hike. So there's a lot of variations, but it mainly boils down to either private hikes, private kayaking, or group hikes, private hikes, group kayaking, or private kayaking, and those are the two categories I'm feeling like I should stay in. And all of them usually include a photography premium picture that's included, or a couple of pictures if you're paying for the premium hikes, the private ones. So
so far, not a single thing you've listed is something that you can get from a park ranger service. I mean, you can get the rough idea on where to go. You can get some outlines of the map, and hey, this is kind of a rougher hike than this hike is, and here's roughly the distance.
Right.
And the trail conditions, right?
Generally, yes. Unless you catch their schedule at the right time of year, they will conduct group hikes where you can go along for free.
Yeah, but you're talking about an immersive experience. I mean, that is what you're describing.
Yeah,
these hikes, that's not what a park ranger can give.
These hikes can be advanced level hikes. I offer people two options. One's an easy 2-hour hike, which still has a waterfall and has views. We go
nice.
An area with views. The other one is much more expanded, much more history, but it's the history, the narration of what they're seeing on the trail that adds the value. Anybody can go walk a trail by themselves, but they don't know what to do if they get out there ill-equipped, or if they come across a black bear, or if they are in the area, they don't know what they're seeing. And we talk about vegetation to some degree, but mostly about the history of the area, the cabin. I have artifacts along the trail that I know where they are. Nobody knows where they are. So they get a very unique experience. It's a very personalized experience. And I tell everybody that's on the hike, if I've got 2 or 3 couples, which is about the average, sometimes I've had as many as 50 at one time, but generally it's 2 or 3 couples that go with me. Oftentimes just one couple, even on the general hikes that are not private. But I tell them, this hike is about you. I'm not going to do it the same way I did it before. I'm not going to give you a canned speech and spiel. Here are the subjects I talk about: the Cherokee Indian history, the settlers' history that came in after the Cherokee, including the despicable President Jackson, and the history having to do around the Trail of Tears, 1880. Indian Removal Act of 1880, and then I talk about the bear behavior, what to do, what not to do, which the park requires me to teach you that before you go on the trail.
That's fair.
And also about leave no trace, how you should treat the outdoors when you're there visiting, and what to do, what not to do, as far as if you have to go use the restroom, if you've got trash or anything like that, how we can take care of that. So among that, and then other things as far as Dolly Parton history, I threw in stories about Dolly. They're about as popular as the bear stories.
Yeah, we should probably back up a little bit because we haven't actually established where this is taking place.
This is in
Smoky
Mountains of Tennessee.
Yeah, so we're outside of Gatlinburg in the Pigeon Forge areas, the Sevierville, and
Great Smokies National Park.
Yeah, and the name of the hiking company, if we wanted to look
Smokies, SMOKYS.
Right, because the Smokies, we spell it weird.
Right.
But do you know why we spell it like that? I've always wondered.
I'm spelling it incorrectly.
You're spelling it incorrectly. Yeah. But I've seen this on other advertising where they drop the
Smoky
E.
Bear, SMOKEY, Smoky Bear. Great Smokies National Park is IES. That's the proper usage.
Okay.
When you're talking about, I don't know if it's present tense, past. What is it? Great Smoky Mountains.
Okay.
That would be SMOKY. Great Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, why does it drop the E? I've always wondered.
Because I don't know what the English term is for it, but that's correct. The E was only used with Smoky Bear. That was a unique campaign. Yeah. Yeah, so I use SMOKY, which is incorrect spelling, but it's unique for a brand, so that's why I use hikethesmokies.com. I keep .com in there, so that's a no-brainer to try to find me on everything I print.
Seems to make sense.
That's pretty much it. So the hiking actually was the path I got on the trail was not to try to kill myself hiking a zillion million miles. It actually has improved my health, and at my age now, I'm 62 years old, and my numbers look better than most 62-year-olds. I'm still not where I should be on a lot of things. I'm still right now 15 pounds above weight where I want to be. But my resting pulse is a 43.
What?
So that freaks out people.
What?
I had a doctor. Wow. I had a doctor try to send me to the emergency room.
I mean, that's Olympic athlete type heart rates.
And tried to send me to the emergency room about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I dropped them as my doctor because I said, I hike for a living. This is what I do for a living. Sometimes I hike 15 to 25 miles in a day. The other day we did 19, and then we did 15 after sleeping in a shelter overnight. So
wow.
That was extremely stressful, and I thought I was going to die the last 6 miles, and I got dehydrated and all that.
Right, we talked about that.
But I bounced back, and we finished. But it was absolute impulse power. I was totally done with warp speed. I was totally dragging myself. And we got to where it was a mile and a half descent down to the lights that we could see of Hot Springs, North Carolina, and that city was so butt ugly when we went in there to we dropped our car off, and I said, this has got to be the most ugly looking city town. It's a crappy little town in the daytime, and by the time we hiked 30 something miles and she was finishing up her 75 miles, we're going down the mountain, and I saw those lights. I said, that's the most beautiful city I've ever seen.
Right?
And she agreed. She said, oh, it's gorgeous.
Oh my goodness.
But we both agreed how drab and crappy. They got this little tiny gas station that closed at 6 o'clock. By the time we got there, it was closed.
Which, in this part of Tennessee, they might just close at 2 o'clock because it was slow that day. Yeah. Right, yeah.
But this Dollar General store is back behind these gas tanks of this gas station. They have above ground gas tanks for petroleum, which is weird. And back there's a little warehouse.
It's a little old school.
This Dollar General sign that wasn't lit up. And we're like, oh no, they've closed Dollar General. We can't go in there and get Pepsis and potato chips and stuff.
And recharge, get some potapotassium in you.
We were just famished. So we walk in, and it was still open. You just don't turn that sign on. The town's so small, everybody knows.
Everybody knows. Yeah, just
it was just a dumpy little town, and God, it was so nice to be there.
So one of the things that's important, I think, too, we're talking about getting to that edge of athletic ability and starting to start dealing with the dehydration and the low blood sugar. And that's something that you've really done a good job of, that I've seen in the last few years, is you've started finding through experience how to properly address those situations. So should you find yourself in an emergency situation, either for yourself or for somebody else that's on the trail, your experience is going to keep everybody safe, including yourself. And in some cases, you're going to get to that limit. But I think
I go overboard with safety. I carry Garmin satellite tracker, which has satellite communication. And I've actually had to use it for myself when I slipped and fell on the ice and knocked myself out.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. I mean, you can't forget. This is still dangerous.
For 3 minutes, I was sleeping and snoring on the Appalachian Trail. So.
Was it a good sleep? Did you feel rested when you woke up?
I woke up and there's these 3 beautiful girls looking down at me, and I said,
that's just kind of weird.
I must be a Muslim, and I've gone
sirens? You sure they weren't sirens?
This is 69 of the 72 virgins, I guess.
Yeah. So when did you convert to Islam?
Yeah. My goodness. They held me arm in arm all the way down another mile and a half of the trail to the car, and by the time the rescue rangers got there from our SOS from my satellite unit, I was already fine, and I said, don't worry about doing medical stuff. I'm going to go to the hospital.
And when did you do your next hike? Like you got checked out, you made sure everything was good, but
I was on the trail the next day. Yeah, and I felt foggy.
Talk about getting back in the saddle.
I was foggy brain for about 2 days. After 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I felt foggy brain.
Yeah, but not to the point where you felt concerned, because obviously you wouldn't have gone hiking.
It really, my short-term memory is bad enough.
Well, I mean to the point where you would not put clients in danger.
No, but I knew my short-term, I would be asking them questions that I routinely ask them, like, where are you from? What kind of work do you do? And then 2 seconds later, I'd be asking the same question again. And I caught myself, and I'm like, ooh, this is weird.
Yeah.
So I knew there was some effect. It takes
Sure.
somebody my age about a multiple of 2 or 3 times the amount of minutes you're unconscious to recover, times weeks.
Yeah.
So like it would have been like 6 weeks for me.
And it hasn't deterred you. Like you're back there. You're still doing hikes. You're doing more hikes.
One eye on the trail. My retina separated. They told me not to hike while I was losing my retina, and it went completely when I went ahead and hiked anyway.
Well, sometimes they know what they're talking about.
Well,
right?
I had these appointments I couldn't get
Right,
out of.
these were
people that had their surprise engagements planned, and I didn't feel like
Yeah.
if I canceled it, who's going to do it? It's going to blow the whole trip, and that's why they were coming to the Smokies. So foolishly, I guess, looking back, I mean, my family was so angry at me for doing it, my sister especially.
I just laughed, but
I went ahead and did it, and they reattached the retina, and it was a miracle. The doctor said, "You got your miracle," because I said, "Well, I think I'm in good hands, and you're going to do a miracle," and he did. And
nice.
right eye is still not right. The horizons are all weird, so it's not all that usable other than subperipheral. So I've been hiking with my left eye for the past year and a half or so, and that's been difficult. So I hike with poles. If I don't have my hiking poles, I could really hurt myself.
And that's something that I've noticed you tend to require for
I make my
your
at least
your clients.
one. Yeah.
So, couple of questions. First one, and
it's all about safety. Even though I charge them a rental fee, it's $2.50
absolutely
a pole, and
Yeah.
I say, look, you got to have one, or you don't hike with me. And I've had some people say, well, I'm an experienced hiker. And I said, well, you're going to use a pole.
if you're an experienced hiker, you're probably using a pole.
If you don't want to pay me for it, that's fine, but you're going to still use it.
Yeah, right.
And I insist, and then usually 99% have said, hey, I'm a convert. I get it now.
Right. In mountain biking, it's things like wearing a helmet every single time. You've got those guys that say, I don't need a helmet. It's like, tell you what, a friend of mine just went over the bars. He's been riding for 20 years. Went over the bars. He was tired, hit a rock a funny way. When he landed, that particular trail has a pointy rock right at the edge of the trail, and he clocked himself right in the cranium, right, not really the soft spot and not really the side of your head, but right in that middle ground. He was wearing a helmet, and the entire helmet was caved in. Like, it did what it was supposed to do. It eggshelled and properly crumpled, but he was out there by himself that day. He would have been dead. And I mean, when it comes down to it, look, when the professional tells you, hey, look, this is a standard, we do this, there's probably a really good reason for it. And even though you haven't run into it in your amateur pursuits of these things, the pros have seen it enough to where it's like, look, it takes 2 seconds to strap on a pole, and it's what? How many grams in weight to carry? I mean,
what's a few ounces?
Yeah, a couple.
Cheap Walmart poles.
They're
a little heavier, but you're not going down the Appalachian Trail too far. But no other hiking group that I know of, no other hiking tour group requires people to have a pole. I'm the only one.
Well, and you've seen it with your clients before.
And I thought about just saying, well, I'll just throw it in for free. And sometimes I do. On the easier trail, I'll say, look, I'll give you the option. You don't have to have it on this trail because it's a flat and wide trail. It used to be a railroad bed for a logging train. So,
okay.
There's not a lot of trip hazards, although we have to cross one or two little streams. It makes stream rock hopping, as we call it, much easier to dance across the rocks without getting your feet wet. You can do that much easier with hiking poles, especially 2, but I only require 1.
Well, and you also get multiple points of contact with the surface when you're trying to...
Yeah, and any kind of slight balance problem on a trail can turn into a big disaster, even on a nice, safe trail, because you do have drop-offs. I mean, off the side of the mountain.
Sure.
Anytime you hike up, you got an ability to
there
fall.
is a down if you're up, right?
Exactly. And some of these things are pretty steep, and if you were to fall, you'd roll, and you might hit a tree and hit pretty hard. I mean, you may not roll all the way down the mountain, but it's going to hurt. Some areas are actually cliffs, not the ones I'd normally take people on, but you do have some cables you have to hold on to.
This would be something you see on the advanced trail that you offer.
If I'm doing a full week of hiking with somebody, which I've been hired to do, like the guy from England who hired me for a full week of camping and hiking.
Yeah.
But getting back to the trail thing, the whole circle about the depression and everything, the trail became my path, my yellow brick road, so to speak, of redemption and finding a way to break away from all the failures of the past. For the most part, they still haunt me. But you get out in the environment that God's created for us, and you see that there's a bigger picture for everything. And it actually, they know scientifically now that hiking, I don't know why they pick out hiking. I think it's probably true of cross-country skiing and some other things, but there's been studies that now say that hiking uniquely transforms the brain. They know that it actually, and that's why there's a lot of veterans out doing working off their PTSD on the trail.
You think it's the exploratory element, or what do you think?
I don't know. Like I said, I would suspect that other sports, maybe sailing and maybe anything where you're going out and breaking away from the norms and you're challenging yourself with the elements, it gets your mind in another mode. You forget your problems, and they know it increases optimism. ADD kids, hyperactive ADD kids, do extremely well.
Yeah.
When I've had these kids on the trail with me, very rarely do I have one that's disruptive or a problem. They usually are stimulated so much as they keep walking, they're getting a brand new scene. It's like a frame rate in a camera.
Right.
They're getting a refresh, and they go around a curve and there's another refresh. Some of them will get tired and a little bit cranky, but generally they do so much better.
Well, there's that element too. We know that ADD, one of the things that's been causing it is a lack of rough and tumble play, especially in young males.
Yeah.
And if you're getting out in nature and you're engaging in rough and tumble with the world, you're actually doing it.
Yeah, and the endorphins start to flow. And that's another thing in your blood, and that's what probably brought me out of depression was the endorphin thing of going to spin class, building up my glutes. That helped me to be a better climber even when I was heavy. And then I got out on the trail, and I would get out on the trail and do 5 miles and go, this is awful. My legs are killing me, and I was wearing these cheap Kmart boots made by Coleman. And my feet we went all the way up to Mount
entry level.
Blanc,
We say entry level.
Die.
Yeah.
And I just realized, I got to get better boots, and that helped. And then I'd go and do a 10-mile hike, and I go, why in the world did I ever do a 10-mile hike? That was the stupidest thing I ever did. I'd be in the shower after the hike saying, I'm never going to do that again. That was stupid. And I'd put the hot water on my legs, and it would start feeling better. And then I'd start going, well, maybe I'll do that 15-mile hike there.
Yeah.
And so I started increasing. I go, oh, that's crazy. Why did I do a 15-mile hike? That hurts so bad, man. I feel awful. And I'd come in, your mom would see me, and I'd be like delirious just because I was dehydrating.
You're pushing yourself to that.
Under control, and my legs were like rubber.
And
and getting out of the car is the most painful part of the hike after you've driven home for 30 minutes. You can't get out of the car. And I'm going, and
especially if you're in a stick shift.
Yeah.
If you ever try to work the clutch after a hike like that, it's it kind of flops.
I couldn't do it. And so this became my redemptive path. And I started feeling better, and I started seeing the weight coming down. I'm going, my pants aren't fitting anymore. They're loose, and I still have my belt. The belt loops, man, I was wearing like a 45.
They become belt slots instead of belt loops.
Like 34, maybe 32
notches.
The time of day.
Yeah.
But I started seeing success, and then I became obsessed with it, and probably it's my one subject I talk about where everybody's probably sick of hearing it, but I'm finding that I find people more interesting, and I have a great love and renewed interest in the public because I was getting jaded with the public. People were coming in and interrupting
Sales will do that.
Interrupting me constantly. I could never finish a task before I would get interrupted with somebody else with a question, and they weren't going to tell me the truth half the time. It seemed like a lot of financial things, and you'd waste your time because they really couldn't qualify for a loan, and they knew it, and they still wanted to play some kind of game, and I was getting so burnt out on the whole thing that once I got on the trail, I realized that people from all over the world are coming to hike with me, and they're actually very nice people, and people that I've had bias against. I've had some of the best times with people from India, Pakistan, or American Indians. I've taken half dozen Cherokee on their own trails and told them their own history that they didn't even know.
I've seen, this is going to sound weird, but I've seen you getting smarter. Like the experiences that are open.
Smarter.
Well,
I was a dumb father.
Well, we're all stupid, all right? And we're all trying to pursue.
We're all ignorant of something.
Well, yes, we're all ignorant of some things, and many of us are willfully ignorant. And what you've been doing,
I've got passed down to you.
yeah, at least a little bit. Willful ignorance, that's when you're engaging in just, you should know better,
right,
and you choose not to learn it.
Right.
And I think in your honest pursuit of this, you've been given multiple opportunities to be willfully ignorant with other cultures, like you're describing, other personalities.
Right.
and you've had that opportunity, and rather than sticking with that path of choosing not to look, you've taken that honest look. And I think each time that happens, I do think there is something to it, and it wakes up parts of our brain, and it helps us become more the person that we could become if all of our mind is awakened.
Yeah, they say now that hiking actually grows part of the brain. I'm not sure.
That'd be interesting to see.
Physically, or if they're talking about neurotransmitters or what. They're saying it actually physically changes the brain. And I think it's true. I mean, at my age, I'm still suffering a lot of things of old age, forgetfulness, things like that. But in other ways, when I look at people my age and even younger, I feel like it's still keeping me at my edge far better than if I were sedentary and unchallenged. For one thing, I would probably be depressed again because I don't have that much of a goal orientation other than to be on the trail. So what would I be doing with myself? I don't know. I'd probably be on a computer and trying to create.
You can get lost in Facebook depression quickly.
Yeah.
Social media depression it's a
well, social media
black
for
hole.
me is sort of a thrill ride because I go out and shoot pictures of a hike and adventure, and then I get to throw it up on this public thing and see what people thought of it. And,
yeah.
And part of that's ego, and part of it is, hey guys, look what I got, and I hope you approve. Well, then sometimes if they don't click on enough, then you might think, oh, that wasn't that interesting. I guess I thought it was interesting, but they didn't. And then you start working your mind towards what you think they want, and then that's the wrong way to go. So what I'm trying to do is keep enough interest in what I do that other people find it contagious and they want to hike with me. And if they hike with me for money, that's great. That's really what my goal is. I get a lot of people that want to hike with me for free, and I let them do it. I have other people I say, well, this is what the fee will be. If I sense that they're coming at me a certain way, I change my methodology. But I'm trying to look at going back to doing some community hikes. So at least the local community knows more about me, and I'm much more visible. And I'm getting a lot of referrals now from people that are influencers on Facebook that are now noticing me, and they know that I'm a reliable, consistent, safe guide that they can send their friends to, or people that they come across in their professions. They want somebody that they would feel safe with. I get a lot of husbands who send me their wives to hike with them and wives who send me their husbands because they don't want their husband out on the trail by themselves. They say, look, this guy, he's got satellite communication. He's been doing it for years. He's experienced. He knows these trails. He knows when the weather comes in, what you're going to be up against, what kind of things to pack in your backpack, what kind of first aid things. He'll have those with him. What trail would be suited for your for where you are physically. Not everybody can do certain trails. And
that's one of the key things, I think, too. Yeah.
They could maybe do it. It might take them all night to do it.
Yeah.
It might be coming
and they
back
may
at
never
midnight.
want to do it ever again.
Yeah, and so many people get on the trails and they risk getting themselves in a predicament and not coming back alive.
Well, and so that's I think the hike is not the experience. The hike is the vehicle for the experience.
Right.
And if you get those confused, it sounds like it could be a problem.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And hikes are many epic journeys of life. They really are. You have ups and downs. You have stream crossings. You have
Mountains,
to analyze.
rivers.
And that's probably one reason why the brain growth occurs, where they're talking about brain growth and being so healthy, is you have to, first of all, if you're going to take an overnight or even a day hike, to do it correctly, you need to plan. You've got to ration your assets. You've got to figure out how much of a load your back can carry comfortably. What items are most important? You have to start prioritizing issues. And it gets complex. You can get into some complexities because if you're starting down in the low valley and you're going to climb all the way up the Appalachian Trail, there's going to be a 20-degree difference baseline, maybe more with wind chill, and maybe way more if you get wet. And so you have to have preparation for 3 or 4 different climates in one day. And
that's something that
planning.
you're not going to know as a tourist coming to a particular environment unless you really research.
That's how one died.
And even then you're still really
last September on a warm day.
And it was exposure?
Yeah.
First
it was dehydration.
Yeah.
And then she got way off course. Was supposed to meet her daughter. She was within a tenth of a mile of meeting her daughter. And they were just doing a quick day hike. They hopped out of the car, said, let's go down this trail down from Clingman's Dome, and then we'll come back up. And the daughter said, well, hey, how about if I go ahead and go up to Clingman's Dome and check out the tower and the view? Because, Mom, I know you're not feeling that great. You don't want to go that fast. And I'll meet you at the parking lot. You got to go back up, just turn right, and see you at the parking lot. And she forgot to turn right. She got dehydrated, didn't read the sign right, started getting dark.
Goodness.
The rains came in on a warm day, and it turned into a chilly night, and she got dehydrated, misread 2 signs, and walked 2 miles west the wrong direction on the Appalachian Trail. And when you get fuzzy brain, when you're dehydrated, she started getting hypothermic. She went off the trail down in some of the worst terrain possible, and they found her body
no
a
way.
week later naked laying in a stream.
No way.
When you get hypothermic, your last phase is you think you're too hot.
Right.
And she took off all her clothes and laid down in water.
Wow. What a tragedy.
And she lost her mom, who was just hiking with her.
And it's
a tenth of a mile away. She made the wrong turn, and they would have been together, united at the parking lot if she'd made that right turn.
Such a harsh reminder too that we're talking about doing something for a joyful experience, but the danger is ever present.
Yeah.
And the moment you don't respect that danger, it does come to get you. I know you need to hit the road. We had talked about doing 30 minutes. We're at an hour and 2 so far. I did want to ask you one last thing to kind of wrap things up. We've got the first step's the hardest. So for people that are out there that are thinking, you know what, maybe hiking is something that would help me start spinning up a positive feedback loop of getting out of the rut and getting those little accomplishments that get me going again. What are some basic things, like what kind of equipment should I have? Who should I talk to? Where are some resources on how to just get started and get my feet wet? And then if I wanted to pursue you, how would I do that?
Well, first you don't want to get your feet wet.
If you do bring in a spare set of socks and a spare set of boots,
that's hard to do. Then you got to carry the weight.
That's a lot of weight. Yeah.
I would do day hikes, but always prepare to stay overnight.
Wow.
Get a day pack, 8-liter day pack from Walmart, Ozark Trail, or one of those ones I carry, the Outdoors product. They're pretty good. They're not as light and spiffy as the really expensive ones, but go ahead and get one of those, cinch up the straps to where it's comfortable on you, and put in a hefty trash bag, construction grade bag.
Construction grade. That would be on the box.
A trash compactor bag. Just buy bags, industrial trash bags, and carry one with you for an overnight poncho that will keep your heat in. You can rip holes in it for your eyes and your mouth, and that will keep the rain off of you. You get incapacitated on the trail because it's so easy. That's the biggest danger is a day hiker. It's not the overnight hikers. Overnight hikers carry shelter with them, and the day hikers don't. And it was the day hiker that died in the park last.
Oh, wow.
And because she didn't have any preparation to spend the night, that's what killed her. If she'd had water, if she'd had a map, if she'd had a compass, or even her phone, and a phone that would work in that area. In our area, the phones don't work a lot, so you have to use GPS with satellite communication. But in any of those cases, if you know how to read a compass, which a lot of people don't, and use a map, at least carry a map. You would be surprised when I quiz people coming on the trail and they ask me questions about where such and such is. I said, "Do you have a map?" First question.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a map. I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Trail map.
Till you go back and get a map, I'm not going to help
That's
you.
something that's important in mountain biking too. That's something I've picked up.
I've just decided I'm aiding and abetting their demise if I help them, because I'm going to tell them further into the trail they're going to get themselves in more trouble.
Yeah.
And I don't cooperate, and they get very upset with me now. And I just say, well, you're going to have to get over it, because I'm not going to do it. So carry something
So we got
water, hydration bag, and plenty of water, over a liter at least if you're doing a day hike.
Over a liter, okay.
A liter and a half. Carry matches or some kind of fire starter or lighter. Yeah. And carry a means of writing, handwriting, a notepad that can stay dry. Put everything in a Ziploc. If you need to leave a note somewhere.
It's important because we usually use our phones now, and that's going to die.
If you have a small pocket knife, you don't need to carry a hatchet or a Bowie knife or anything like that. Just carry a small cutting tool of some sort, so you can cut holes in your trash bag, make your eyes. And
survival blanket.
No,
just
the trash bag works as a survival blanket.
Okay.
If you could buy an SOL, there's a brand called SOL you can buy. It's a very lightweight survival.
Shit out of luck, really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you're going to use it, right? It's the
little Mylar metallic ones are not really that effective.
Not as effective as you would think.
They're really not very effective, and they crinkle. You can't sleep because they'll crinkle.
That noise is terrible.
The other thing is you want to carry a rain poncho.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have the trash bag,
Good.
I would say that's pretty much flashlight.
Good.
Headlamp,
Good boots.
Headlamp.
Good boots.
Headlamp. Of course,
Footwear.
you gotta wear some good boots.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. I mean, if your ankles roll, that can incapacitate you. That's
Something with some support.
Yeah, half boots. I wear at least half boots. I used to wear trail runners. I can't do it anymore because I rolled my ankle, and
Ouch.
You can be stuck out on the trail with just a rolled ankle. So if you don't protect your ankles, at least carry a ace bandage so you can wrap yourself up if you do hurt yourself, and carry a small medical kit or just a few bandages.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing elaborate, and that's really about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Poles.
Mainly fire. Well, yeah, if you want to use hiking poles.
Or even if you find a good stick, right? A good sapling.
Poles are
By far superior, but if you're
better
out
than a
there and
stick.
you're just a new guy out there.
Poles are lightweight,
Yeah.
they're adjustable, and you won't have anything that might hurt you when you fall.
That's a good point.
So poles, something to start a fire with, something to write messages with.
Illumination.
And extra food snacks, some energy bars, more than you think you need for that day, but don't carry a can of beans and all that. Just carry a few more food bars.
Roughly how many calories are you thinking for something like that? I mean, obviously it's roughly based on your average person.
I would just say if you've got
1,500, 2,000 calories,
if you're
something like
going
that.
to eat anything on the trail, add another of what you're going to eat on the trail. Just
Double it.
Yeah,
for a day trip.
You just want to make it through the night. You're not going to burn up
that makes
amount
sense.
of calories unless you're freezing to death. So anyway, that's really it. But you want to have a headlamp, fire starter, cover for rain, be it a trash bag or a good poncho, and you want to have something to wrap your ankle if you hurt yourself. That's a little extra than what most people carry. A small bandage kit, just in case, and a knife. I think I mentioned, or
some kind of cutting tool.
And that's really about it.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty simple. You can usually get that for under $40 all in.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not an expensive thing. You could probably borrow it from one of your camping buddies at school, church, wherever. There's always that prepper, right? Hit him up. He likes to be helpful. Borrow some of his gear.
I do is I carry duct tape. I wrap it around my hiking poles, about 2 or 3 feet of it, just in case. In case the sole comes off of your boot or your shoe, that can be really a pain in the butt.
I
you can't
bet.
get down the trail with a floppy sole. So you can actually put that duct tape around it and make it down the trail and be done.
Nice.
Some people carry self-defense. I believe it's a good idea to carry pepper spray for the 2-legged critters as well as the 4-legged critters. Especially if you're a woman, I think it's best to go ahead and buy
or somebody of a slender build.
Right.
Because, we've got a lot of, I mean, it's a modern age. We've got a lot of guys that are just not built stocky like you and I are.
Right.
And,
well, I think it's just a good idea in case you get a wild dog. I've had dogs attack me on the trail. You can have a rabid raccoon that attacked
that was
Jan,
crazy.
Jan and them.
Yeah.
Back in
that thing
chased
her down.
Yeah, jumped on the back. Yeah.
It wasn't like she encroached on the territory and it was defending. It stalked her.
I mean, that's very rare.
Yes, but still rabid. It's
but
like
a domestic
you're going to run
dog
into it.
Can do horrible damage. And if you're out there by yourself, there's nobody to save you.
So mace.
So pepper spray.
Yeah.
Bear rated pepper spray. It's about
$35
a can.
$35 a can. I mean, but you run into that. It's like,
get it at Walmart.
yeah, $35 well spent.
And some person who's giving you a hard time, it'll shoot 30 feet. So
30 feet range out of a. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's a good standoff.
Nice. Well, that sounds good.
You don't want to use a little keychain one; those are pathetic.
Yeah. Well, this has been great.
All right. Well, I'm glad you got something out.
I got a great conversation at the very least, and I learned more about you than I knew.
Wow.
And that was great.
Did the camera die?
It did. It's dying. That's okay. We still got the solo camera. It's on you though, so you're gonna carry us. You're gonna carry us the rest of the way through because we got the close up on you.
Well, contact me at hikethesmokies.com or info@hikethesmokies.com, SMOKYS.com.
That's it. This is Chase Ellis.
865-363-4663.
Wait, no, you can go. We got time. You sound it out. Enunciate it. Slow it down.
865-363-4663. Operators are standing by. Actually, they're sleeping, so let it ring.
There's no way that I got my radio voice from Dad. There's just
way.
Right. There's just no resemblance in that whatsoever.
I do because he listened to Steve Morgan.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
all right.
It's the Steve Morgan voice. Hi, I'm Steve Morgan. Greenbrier Church.
Well, Chase Ellis podcast #1 in the bag. Thank you for this. This is
it's
great.
In the can, not in the bag.
No, it's in a bag. It's going to go in like probably some
like,
kind of
the trash
beanie, and then I'll forget
bag.
about it for a year, and then I'll finally edit it together. But
you got a lot of editing.
yeah, well, we've got. I'm trying to get 3 more podcasts in this week, in the next couple of days. So we'll see how it goes. But thanks for being the first.
Thank you. Oh, you're supposed to.
I mean, I can't. Who set up the set?
Oh man, that's a good rehearsal. Let's do it again.